And thank you as always. I gotta tell you, the videos I posted, I've gone back to a couple of times just to
Hmm.
help solve problems. Eventually, I want to get them into a that thing that Jacob wrote so that it's all in code. So someday, that maybe later this year, that'll
You
be
mean the thing he just wrote? Because I don't think that's ready yet.
um yeah, the thing that he just wrote. I like it just because it's in workspaces. I don't love it, but just the fact that
Oh, the
everything.
one he's got in workspaces. I was talking about the one he just posted about where he's got Psy
Oh,
compiling Fulcro.
and it's just as
So where you can just do
frivolous
live
as what
code
I
in the
did
front end.
with membrane. But good for him.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, I'm excited to see if he gets it further along and working well.
yeah, super, super. Um,
So what you got going on? What's your problems?
yeah. Sue, uh, wrote this. Maybe I should go here. So I was able to. So there's all these DevOps Enterprise videos, like 1,100 of them, and I've been generating using OpenAI GPT to generate summaries for them.
Hmm.
And like here's one. So these are summaries of business problems, metrics, and testimonials.
Hmm.
It's so helpful. In fact, of all the stuff I've done, to be able to just be able to click a button and generate these are
No.
so great compared to like the notebooks I was using.
Hmm.
I'm trying to get this kind of roll up view where the title of the talk, which is here, and speakers show up kind of above the form. So
So that's a form you got there on the bottom left.
yeah, and then before the form in the view in the summary. So let's see here. So it's video split form. I mean, if I want to show the speakers, I think I can do that. Actually, it's a map. Maybe it won't work. Okay, yeah. So it does work, but I don't want it to be in the form because it's like the last thing that I would want to have happen.
Well,
Uh,
you don't want to edit speakers, right?
correct.
Yeah. So you'd want that in the query inclusion,
Yeah. Right. 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 So I try to
which
do
you
that.
already have it there. Oh, I see. It's commented out.
Um, if you observe what happens when I do this,
Well, but so let's don't show me the UI. Let's talk about the data. You've
yep, yep.
got uh uh speakers is a thing. Is that thing serialized as a closure Eden map so it comes back as a blob, or is there a nested resolver? Is it normalizable? What's the deal with speaker?
Yeah, it's called an Eden map, and in the model it shows up as a string. I just put it as a string. So in
So show me your
later
schema
on.
for that.
Yep.
Like what does speaker look like as an attribute?
Is it even speakers? I
Oh,
put it
speakers is okay. So you've got an Eden encoded vector of maps for that, or what?
the map. It's considered like a uh, three items in a map. Um,
Three items in a map. Show me an example if you could.
so
You could even type it. I don't care. It's
it's like video item, speakers. It'll be like a tag of like speaker name, company, something like that. Uh,
okay.
ish.
Okay. So, and you've string encoded that.
Um,
Okay. So
no,
you can always read string it, like Eden read string it, right? But it is
so
coming back as a string. Okay.
no,
So what do you
it's
want?
actually not a string. It's a I just put that there just because I'm lazy. Um,
Yeah, don't don't be lazy about your data modeling.
yeah, so like what do I do to say like don't look in here? It's a map just considers like an opaque thing. Like
Well, but
what
how is it a map? Is it a map because your database stores Eden directly? That's what I'm trying to figure out. I
So it's a yes, why be abstract when it can be concrete?
Okay, there they were. There they were. Scroll down. Just there's another one. So name,
Yeah,
title, company.
yeah.
Okay, so why not make that a ref to a speaker and make a model for the speaker?
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, why
Yeah,
not make it truth it?
the juice isn't worth the squeeze. It's just I would say like is there a way to sort of like not do that?
Sure. I mean,
How many
what you've got going? I would just call the type colon EDN. Rad doesn't use the data type.
right.
Okay. The plugins do. So, like for example, the database plugin you're using, if it doesn't know the data type and you don't put it in the schema, um, then like right now you've got it in the schema for production. How does that get pulled? Is this XTDB or something where you'll actually get Eden out of the database?
Yeah. Or it's I don't think it's is it Eden? It is a closure data structure. It's a map. Yeah, it's returned as data.
Okay. So I don't know. And is XTDB, I forget, is it schemaless?
Yeah,
Yeah. So it doesn't care,
it doesn't care.
right? Um, and so your database plugin doesn't care. So just say what it is. All right. I expect this to be a data structure, right?
Yep. Yep.
The rendering is pluggable. So if you make up a new data type, all you have to do is make a new renderer for it.
Cool.
Same thing with forms. All the form fields are just components. You could plug in one for that data type and make an editor for it.
Yeah,
And in this case, you don't consider it editable data, right? It's just read-only data that came from an import.
that's right.
So
Yep.
so all you want to be able to do is display it,
Yep.
right? So
Well, actually, yeah. I mean, what I really want to do is what I really want to do is
oh, and the resolver generation, obviously, yeah, the resolver generation is going to look at the schema for, again, the database plugin to
yeah,
decide whether or not it's going to generate a resolver.
yeah, exactly. So I want speakers to show up
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, right, and be able to pass that down to a child. And so, uh,
So now that you've said it's just some arbitrary data structure, and
yeah,
you put that in the query inclusion, I'd be interested in Fulcro inspect, seeing um,
yeah,
what you get out of that.
yeah. So I'd like to. So my first cut is this video item speakers,
Yep,
right?
that looks good.
And so just in here, uh,
Well, now if you save that and you go to your form over on the browser and you
yeah,
open up Fulcro inspect,
yep, stand
this
by.
I'm just trying to, and you
Yep,
might want to restart your server with a reload so that it not like kill the REPL, but just like yeah, that guy. Just so we're sure that what was that?
never seen that before.
Trying to talk to an SQL database and it didn't like it. Huh. Oh, it must have been some pending request that hit after you'd closed the connection on the
Okay,
prior run. Okay, so now open Fulcro inspect there, uh, uh,
I reload the
and
form.
look at the network tab, and then yeah, and then get out of the form and come back to it. Let's see what.
I'm just gonna reload. Is that enough?
Sure. All right, so go to the network tab and find this forms query, and it should have yeah, that's got speakers.
Oh,
All right, so
wait. Speakers. Wait a minute. That's new. Damn it. Okay.
what's new?
That's great. I didn't see this before.
Right, so click on that and scroll down. What did it give us? Speakers. There you go. So you're getting it. So now it's just data, right? You can just destructure it out of the props and
Okay.
format it however you want to format it.
Very happy, I guess. But okay, so now this is here.
Mm-hmm. And that's just going to be a vector of your maps. So you can just
Yeah.
PR string it a div if you just want to see it.
Yeah.
you go.
Okay. Okay. So my second. Okay, that's amazing. That's really amazing. Okay, that's why didn't that work?
It probably should have worked before. I mean, even if you said it was going to be a string, the database plugin doesn't try to coerce it. It just, right? That's just a hint to like the other plugins of how to deal with it. Like in a report, it would try to
Or
use
find
the
this different
string
way.
formatter on it, if you had any, etc.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Um,
So okay, great. Well, that's fantastic. I should be smiling. I'm smiling, but part of me is like, what? Okay, fantastic. So then I have this. So I want to pull some of this information from this form and stick it up here. So I made something called
uh, well, I don't understand your UI just yet. Are you doing the render layout? Yeah, there you are on line 528. It's in props, right? So of course you can pull it up and put it up there.
yeah, no, exactly. So I'm gonna move some of this information up to here, and I have something called video summary controls.
Okay.
And so I made a query inclusion of UI video.
Huh?
Query video control. So where does UI video live? I mean, in the report, it kind of lives in the.
Okay. So UI is not a good fit here.
Yeah.
Unless you're planning on doing some sort of modification to the state machine to load that data separately.
Negative. No,
What you'd rather do is make a virtual edge from, I guess, video item, right, to the video summary controls. I don't know what your schema is, so I can't speak to that. But how do you get to video summary controls in the database? Who owns it?
Yeah. I guess now that this is working, what I really want to do is just pass all the props. I mean, I saw you do this somewhere in the code, and I was like, maybe that works, but I'm very fuzzy on what it means to have a form to have a UI component.
So okay, here's what it means. I'll just give you the general meaning because that's a useful thing to know. The UI namespace on keywords is auto-alighted from network requests. That's really the only thing. Is I was like, all right, often you want to load components, but they also need some local state for themselves.
Yep.
You probably don't want to ask the server for that local state if you do a query. I'm trying to load a person, but there's a UI checked, field on that person. I don't want to ask the server, are they checked? Right? That's kind of silly. It's wasted network bandwidth. So I made the default EQL transform for network requests. Ignore anything that has a UI namespace. That's all it means ever.
Yep.
Right? Now in a form, think about what a form is doing. A form is trying to load data from a server, let you edit it, potentially put it back on the server. That's what a form is for. So adding a UI thing in the query is the same thing as adding a UI thing in a person. You might be adding something that you want in your rendering to use for local purposes, but you don't need it to come from the server or go back to the server.
Yep.
Right? Now, the split between query inclusion and attributes are the things to include as form state. So even though like they came from the server and they'll go back to the server, query inclusion, that might be extra stuff that you need. For example, you might want something from the server like a list of choices for a particular form field. You might want to put that in the query inclusion, right? You want it to load, and it does come from a server, but it's not part of the form. It's not something you're going to edit and change. So you don't need it to have form state added to it. It doesn't need to be tracking the data as part of the form.
So this is valid.
It is a perfectly valid thing, but what you're saying there is I'm only using that for UI purposes and I'm manipulating it completely. The form has no responsibility for it, and the load of the form will not get it from the server.
Yep.
Right. Now, my guess is that needs to come from the server. Right.
Got it. Okay.
Now you're in a form, and there's two ways you can enter a form. You can enter a form and create, which does no load. And you can enter a form for edit, which does do a load.
Yeah.
So if you put something in the query inclusion that you expect to always be there, it won't be there when you create a new instance of that thing.
Yeah.
Because no load happens. Yeah. So in that case, what you need to do is modify. Actually, I've added a form option now. There's a form option for No, that's for load params.
It's not
There
like
might
a
be a trigger, but basically you either need to modify the state machine or issue a trigger that will load anything you need in the query inclusion in the case you're doing a create.
yeah. Again, no need for that.
Okay.
So I think, just to answer my own question, I think what I need to do here is, well, it's interesting. So my question was like, video is null
Sure.
because it's elided from the network. It's like no query is actually happening. Is that
UI video will never go on a network, correct? But
so?
if you made a video item slash video or something like that that has a resolver, then of course that will load if you're loading one that already exists. So since you've written an app,
Yeah,
do you ever create these from the front end, or are they always back end imports?
these summaries can now be created by the front end.
Okay, well then you've got that issue I was talking about where the query inclusion makes no difference whatsoever to the load if a load doesn't happen, right? If it's a brand new one, you're not going to have anything from the query inclusion, although it may not matter. It's just a thing to consider, right?
So you're saying that
Um,
if I change this so it's not UI, something will happen.
only if there's a resolver for it. But yes, when you load one, it will send it in the query.
So this would do something.
Yeah, that would send something in the query. It may not be what you want, but right. I don't know what video summary controls are.
Yeah. In
What
fact,
is that?
just what it really takes is props, and I think that will work.
Uh, yeah, I don't know enough about your application to be able to help you with that.
Yeah. Well, in fact, actually,
If you would jump into the video summary controls, so I had an idea of what you were seeing maybe in your head about them. Like, I
yeah.
don't know what they are. They make no sense to me.
Yep. No, of course. Yeah. Give me one
They're
second.
completely opaque. Okay. Um,
That's interesting. Okay, so this is the error I put on Slack. I'm now getting this error message.
above error, objects are not valid. That means that you put something in a div or a p or whatever, like on line 528, you've got name there. Nil is okay, but if name were something other than a string, like a JavaScript object or a ident object, that would crash the UI.
What is name? Is that the cute? Oh, wait,
Ah,
what?
right. And so
That's
you commented it out. So you're actually sending a function to the UI. So
yeah.
why'd you, now you've got two functions that you're sending to the UI. I'm not sure what you're doing there on
Hang
line
on. There's
528.
two
Did you
functions.
mean to wrap that in string?
What is name? Hang on. I'm sorry. I'm legitimately.
You're spacing on me.
I'm sorry. I'm legitimately stunned at what that is. What is that thing? Okay.
I think you were kind of plugging some stuff in.
Okay. You said there's two things I'm passing.
And UI summary controls, you just sent props into that. But I don't know what that does. So that could be crashing
all it
here.
does. So it just opens up. It just renders some of the video items.
Oh, it's just a video item. You already have a video item. So yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. You should just pass that one props. Now, does that one, see, you've done it here as well. Title string. What is that? What are you trying to do there? Are you trying to call string on title?
Title string. Yes, exactly. Just I was actually
That's
just trying to debug where
right,
uh
but that's not legal closure. You're printing title as a value of a function, a
oh
value, and string as a value of a function.
oh this is what I meant to do.
Ah, okay. That's a little more reasonable.
Okay, but still that doesn't fix my
That might fix your rendering bug. In fact, it does.
okay. Hang on. What the heck have I done here? Okay, so let me just back out.
And you did the same thing down below, didn't you? You stuck string without a thread um,
Yeah.
on name, although you commented it out. Yeah. So
And I'm sorry, what was name?
name used to be something you were probably destructuring, and you're no longer destructuring. So now it's just literally the closure function name.
Gosh.
Oh, that's your top end that you were trying to say, I want this stuff to show up the top. And so you'd stuck it in there as a placeholder and probably hadn't destructured it yet.
Maybe, or that was just a brain fart. Okay.
Yeah.
So have I? Oh, that's great. So, oh, now this is fantastic. So now I can just,
So now you can call your video summary controls with props.
yes, and that is indeed.
Don't close your, oh yeah, I guess you do need to close it because you commented the rest out. You should get in the habit of using pound underscore because then you don't have the whole bracket issue.
Yeah, that's right. I should.
Yeah, you're still using the line-based mentality for closure code.
Yes, I've been actually getting better at it.
Yeah.
I
I actually thought about making a talk around that.
go.
Well, because that's one of the challenges that people face when they try to adopt Clojure and
Yeah.
ClojureScript is they're coming almost certainly from a line-based programming language where even the editor itself, like I'm a big VI aficionado, as I know you are, and it's a line-based programming editor. Like it's meant for editing C. That's what
Yep.
it's meant for editing.
Yep.
Like DD, delete a line,
Yep.
change to end of line, delete to end of
Yeah, I'm
line,
using the
etc. It's
kill form.
all
That's what I'm
line-based. Yeah, yeah.
better. This is
And
the
and not only is the like in Clojure, it encourages you to not only think of your program as a data structure in terms of the logic, it actually is much easier to edit if you're thinking of the code as a
yeah.
data structure that you're manipulating with data structure commands like
Yeah.
join and split and kill
Oh,
and splice
yeah.
and yeah. And
Actually,
if
hang
you
on.
can switch that mentality, it does wonders for you.
Actually, something I've just meant to study. Okay, so slurp
Uh-huh.
forward.
Yep.
I use that all the time to
Yep.
bring in a form.
Yep.
Slurp backwards. Wait a minute. So then barf is the inverse operation.
Yep. Barf spits it out. But
What does
it's just like VI. When you use a lowercase letter, you're going in read order, and when you use an uppercase letter, you're going in reverse read order, right?
yeah.
So
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 what did
after
slurp
it's in reading
backwards?
order, right? You're doing something in the order that you would read to the right,
Yep.
and backwards is the reverse reading order. You're
Yeah,
doing the
what does
slurp or the
slurp
barf.
backwards mean?
Well, but it's basically, let's say you've done let's say over there, do I have tools for drawing here? Let's say you did the thread, but you got the arrow outside of the parentheses
Oh
and you
yeah.
needed to pull it in, right?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So barf backwards would spit the threading arrow uh, out,
Oh,
and slurp backwards would pull it back in, right? I don't use those anywhere near as often because it's just very rare that you've screwed up the front of the form. It's more often the
yeah.
back of the
Oh, that's really
form,
great. Actually, you know what? I'm going
right?
to allocate like an hour and actually study that. This has eluded me for years. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And like
Okay.
there's a join. Let's say you were writing code and you made a let and then you made another let inside of it because you had
Yeah.
some lines in between, but then those lines in between disappeared. Now you've got like two lets that are kind of useless.
Yeah.
Um, like type that out. Say like let, X be one and then make a new let Y be two and then the close, right? That sort of thing. No.
Yeah.
Get rid of the Y2 there. I'm saying inside of the body of the let, make another let instead of the body. No, that's not the body. That's the bindings.
Yeah.
There. Yeah. Make another let. So let's say you ended up with this, which
Yeah.
I occasionally end up with, right? Because I
Yeah.
had some
Sure.
lines in between, right? So like if you open a line above that, I used to have a line there. I decided to delete it,
Yep.
right? Now it's senseless to have a nested let.
Yep.
So move your character on left a little bit. So you're in that let. No, inside of it.
Yep.
Yep. Now run splice. Splice S expression is the third one. There you go. Kill one, and then join.
Wait. Kill.
Yeah.
Kill as
Yep.
expression.
Yep. And
Whoa.
then join. Yep.
Wow.
Right. Way better than working with lines. Right.
Actually, I'm going to rewind that just to.
Yeah. Well, you've got it recorded, so
Yeah, let's see here.
So splice removes all the things in the list from the list itself, but leaves the items, right? So it gets rid of the enclosing container.
And it got rid of both of them.
Yeah. Right. That's splice. So it's
Yeah.
sort of like raise, but it keeps all the elements instead of just the one.
Cool.
Right. Kill gets rid of one, and then joins two data structures together. It works with maps and vectors and lists, and so there you go.
Nice.
Right. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, you give a whole talk on just this idea of you're working with these data structures, and the editor actually, because it knows the data structures, gives you these cool ways of manipulating them that's way better than line-based editing. But if you're still stuck in the line-based mentality, which those of us who started in C and used VI for 20, 30, 40 years, it's tough, right? You come in here and you just want to hit, you just want to munge that and jump to the end and do your percent to jump to the other parenthesis and fix that. And right. It's like, oh my God.
10x my editing kung fu. This is fantastic. Okay. Last thing, Tony, this is best mood I've been in.
Excellent. Good to hear. Always glad to cheer somebody up.
No, seriously. Okay. So using my newfound skills, I was able to sort of show transcript here, but you'll notice, this is awesome. But why is the initial state null? So in the present a summary.
Okay.
I have a initial state of shows transcript. I learned this last time we talked. But the initial state is null.
Because you didn't compose it into its parent, probably. So initial state, like query, has to compose to root to take any effect.
Okay, so where do I use map UI present?
Yeah, you have no initial state on that guy.
Oh, damn it.
But the initial state, right? So yeah, in a Deficy form, initial state is generated for you. Do I have a hook for? I think I have a hook for adding on to that. Do an FO/initial and see what you get. Look at that one. Look at the doc string on that one. I never embed things like this. So let's see. Form only option meant for setting up additional component state, particularly UI blah props that were added in the query inclusion. Yep, that's what you need right there. So just add, what is this crossing video item summaries? Is that the idea?
Can you ask that one more time?
Which thing are we initializing here? Present summary? Is that?
Yeah, present summary.
So just copy that, put a map right there that says video item summaries.
It's a map or okay, got it.
Video.item/summaries, yep.
Oh,
and then conf get initial state. Yeah, exactly.
Ew.
Right, and then a map, an empty map is the third argument. You get initial state needs initial state parameters. There you go. Now, note on this. Yeah. Normally, you compose that to root, and with a form, forms don't compose to root because forms don't have a constant ident.
Yeah.
Right. So the trick here is that, and go ahead and look and see if that. No, I don't know what this. I don't know how the show transcript thing is working. Because this is a too many. This is a too many thing.
Yes. Yep.
So how are the too many getting there? Are you loading them in a separate way? What's the deal? I don't quite understand. Oh, that's query inclusion. All right, no, you don't need line 584. Take that back. That's not where you're at in the life cycle. This is a form. This is a thing that's loaded. It's not something that initializes at compile time, right? At first render of frame. This is something that's initializing as part of a load. So Wilker actually added this feature, and you go to present summary.
Yep.
Or present summary. I don't know which way you mean that to be. And there's an option to DefSC called pre-merge. And what pre-merge does is it lets you augment the data that we merged into the database when it's loaded or say merged with merge component. So it's an in-between hook into the kind of the depth of what Fulcro is doing. So you're loading a form, which is loading this thing. And when you load this thing, you want to merge a UI show transcript false with the data that came from the server.
Yep.
Right? That's the pre-merge option.
Yep.
So go down below, instead of initial state, make that pre-merge.
Okay.
Instead of initial state, right? Because initial state is first render of the entire application. That's not where this is coming in. This is coming in during a merge of the data from, in this case, the network, right? So you can just get rid of the initial state. Now, if we go look at the docs on pre-merge, because I use it so infrequently, I do not remember what argument you get. You're going to make a lambda here. Shift K, like the VI command for me, works on that to show a doc string. If you put your cursor on DefSC.
Yeah.
And hit Shift K. Pre-merge function. There it is.
Wait. Pre-merge. Got it.
Copy that signature. Yeah.
Got it.
Yep. Plug that in there.
Pre-merge.
Yeah. Flip it to a second line so we can see the whole thing. There we go. All right. So there's an exact example of what you need, actually. And splice that in.
Okay. Oh, yes. Splice.
Yeah. Put yourself inside of the map and splice. Yeah.
Splice.
Splice. You have to spell it right.
Splice.
It's Alt S. You've got my keyboard shortcuts. So
yeah.
All right. So you can do your capital D on UI default start there, default value to get rid of that. Okay. So basically the way pre-merge works is it hands you the data tree that's about to be normalized into the database. What's currently normalized in the database, that's what current normalized is, the entire state map in case you need it, and the query that's being used to normalize the data, because you could be using dynamic queries. So your static query there might not even be the query that's being used. So you don't need most of those, but in this case, that should do it.
Wow. Okay. And let's see here. You said something that seems important. Initial state is.
I never do that.
What?
I'm kidding.
Oh, no. No,
I never say anything important.
Sorry. You said something important that I glossed. This seems I need to.
Okay. So
what is it? Initial state is at load time, and pre-merge. That what are the two?
No, initial state happens on the very first render frame of your entire application. No loads have happened, nothing. This is to get a base Fulcro database, and that has to be composed to root. This is a form. It doesn't exist in the database yet. So it's not merged at the first frame of rendering. It's not part of the initial state, so it doesn't need initial state.
Yeah.
Pre-merge is a thing that will be called anytime this guy's used to merge things into the database. So anytime normalization happens. So merge component, load, a mutation that, well, again, it would be merge component. Those are really the two main things, right? Load calls merge component, and you can call merge component manually. Those are that's the way things get into the database. You could also call, I think this is hooked into tree to DB. So I think, I don't remember where we put it, but I think it's at the lowest levels. Okay. So if you use this guy to put data in the database, when the normalization algorithm is happening and it sees the component has a pre-merge, it says, you want to help me put this in the database. And this is the hook where you can do it. Right. So it's going to say, here's what I currently see in the database. That's what's currently normalized at that location.
Yep.
Here's the entire state map in case you need to do something wiggy with that. And here's the query that I'm currently using, because it could be a dynamic query. And so that query could be different from this query if you've set the query, right? That's rare, but it's possible. And then you're supposed to return a tree that should be used for the merge that actually goes back into the database.
Got it.
Right? So the way merge normally works in Fulcro is Fulcro picks up the current normalized and merges it with a new thing coming in. the data tree. Um, and that's it. So if you already had UI transcript in there saying true and you loaded it, it would stay true, right? You'd get the old thing merged with the new stuff. This is a way for you to say, hey, when you're loading it, I want to be able to look at the state map, and I want to be able to look at what's currently there, and I want to be able to even look at the data tree that's incoming and modify what goes into the database. That's what pre-merge is for. It's a component local way of interacting with the merge of a load or a merge component.
Again, in this case, because initial state is will never get called for there's
correct. Initial state is not a constructor.
Yeah.
It is purely a way to get an initial database on the very first frame of Fulcro's startup.
Yeah.
And forms don't have any state at that point.
Awesome. And just to dwell on this for one more moment. Do forms, so forms, basically the state lives in the kind of in a state machine primarily, right? There's no
the logic's in a state machine. I don't understand.
Sorry. So reports have these wonderful convenient places to store things like UI, state,
Sure, so do forms. That's what query inclusion is about.
Yeah, where does that live? When I say a form has a
it's co-located at the ident. So the form of all forms is some additional co-located information with the actual entity. So video split form is a video item in this case, right? You're given it the ident of a video, or is it video or video item?
Video item.
VID, whatever that is.
Yeah, so
V is your video item. Yeah. So if you look, there's a video item ID table in your Fulcro database that has the actual data that you loaded.
Yes. Okay, let's find that. So that's the video item.
That's
windows in the way.
It's at the very bottom, yeah. Right. So that guy's loaded. And it co-locates form state config with it. Notice that, right?
Nice.
Right. So basically it just augments things in there, and it's normalized. So you have to go to the forms by ident table to see the actual form data. Right. So you've got the item, and then it normalizes the tracking information in as well. Okay, so that
my ident. Wait a minute. So where you're if I look in,
everything's
here.
Yep. There you go. Yep. It's a little hard to view and inspect. So there's the key and there's the value.
Right? So I'm expecting to find the UI.
No. That's back on the video item ID, right? You co-located it there. Oh, but you said summary. Summaries is a different field, right? That's going down to the summary. Like, where are you locating the UI? Where is that?
Oh, that's if I did this. I took it out.
No. You have the present summary component. That component's the guy that has.
Oh, but
right.
The show.
So that's a summary ID. So if you look at the summary ID table, you'll see the UI thing.
Okay,
there, because that's where you put it, right?
Roger. Oh my gosh. Okay, got it. That's a got it. Got it. Okay, let me see if I can repeat that back. So the ident for this is summary ID. So basically, that means all these.
They go at whatever entry in the database that summary's located at.
Got it. Okay, that makes
simple
sense.
As that. It's it's kind of almost embarrassingly simple, right? It's just like that's where I said put this component. That's where it's going to go.
Cool. And I guess that makes a lot of sense. Okay, great. Oh, this has been delightful.
Excellent.
Great. And I'm whisking away towards my solution that I want to generate. So I'll post this, and there's some gems in here.
All right, cool.
Tony, thank you for making my day. This is great.
Sure, happy to help.
Fantastic. And I'm gonna stop recording. And as